It's Starfleet Remembrance Day, but Union Singh doesn't do pins. The Gorn is a serious threat now? How many times will Captain John get mad at this week's episode? We're talking about Memento Mori this week after the jump.
This episode of Commander's Log is brought to you by Geek Renaissance. Need that special gift for the nerd in your life? Love supporting small business? Look no further than Geek Renaissance. The artist Sephra makes all items by hand and will boldly go to the final frontier for your unique gift. Head over to geekrenaissance.company.site and use the code FLOBITO, that's FLOBITO, to get 10% off your order. Don't forget to follow, like, and share Geek Renaissance on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Chief Communications Officer of the USS Post Show, Flobo Boyce, reporting for duty, but I'm not alone. I'm being joined by, you guessed it, Look Alive, because Captain is on the bridge. What's up, Captain?
Oh, at ease, everybody, at ease. Having my afternoon sorry and brandy.
Oh, dang.
You gotta mix it with the ginger beer.
Of course. That is intergalactic class. How's it going, man? It's been a while. It's been a whole week. You know, it's good.
It's been a week, and it's been a little bit of an adjustment because I've gone from that high that we're all feeling about Strange New Worlds, because it is a really high quality show.
Really? Because you were totally bragging on it for weeks. You're like, this show, I don't know. I'll throw you on the bus. I'm sorry.
No, you are incredibly correct, because where I was going with this whole thing was, I think I found an equilibrium of not getting so offended, so thoroughly offended by so many things in this show, and I'm trying to like calm that down.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I for one thought it was the best episode so far, and we'll get to that in a second. What's up, Kristen? Kristen Reese says hi, Flobito, and John. That's you, Captain. We're gonna have a grand old time. This way was a little bit surprising to me about the event of this episode. Craig Robinson says permission to come aboard Captain number 1. Permission granted because the captain is indisposed because he's been drinking that story. Okay.
Please get him in here. Love me some Craig Robinson.
Like today's episode. Hey, you're number 1 again. Okay.
That was funny. I like that.
Sure. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's episode, there is something I want to read to you from the Bell of Lost Souls website. Check them out at Bell of Lost Souls. They say, quote, TNG has the Borg, DS9 has the Dominion, and Strange New Worlds has the Gorn. Do you agree with that statement? But keep in mind, as far as I can tell, the Gorn were kind of a joke species recently.
You are 100% right about that. And what we know when we go into the episode, The Arena, and I really wish I'd been paying more attention to this episode, because maybe what we would have done last week on our other show that we do together on Sundays, Starbase 80, we probably would have watched The Arena so that you could have gotten a sense of the Gorn. When they meet the Gorn, they're not like, oh, it's a Gorn. Sure. Yeah, I recognize him. In Strange New Worlds, they are making the Gorn these big bads, but you know me.
I know you.
I don't live and die by canon.
Okay.
If you want to change canon a little bit, Harry Mudd, he's a psychopath. He's a murderer. He will kill. Hey, ooh. Beautiful picture. I am okay with kind of remaking things and kind of modernizing things. That's okay with me.
Sure.
But the same argument that I had with Discovery, and I'm not proud of that argument, is an argument I have now, which is, why didn't you just make a new species? In Discovery, you go, these are Klingons. And I look at these monsters and I go, they're great characters, but they're not Klingons.
Right.
I mean, even the Klingon from Star Trek, the Motion Picture, which is the Klingon we know now with the big horseshoe crab on the head and all that, was still kind of close to the original Klingons.
Okay.
Maybe not, but kind of. But
Kind of.
these new Vulcans, I'm sorry, these new Klingons were not, I thought, a proper extension. And now I'm feeling that way about the Gorn. It's like, okay, one of the things we find out about the Gorn is they like to hunt their prey.
Right.
When you watch the arena, this is how the Gorn hunts his prey.
Yo, why is that safe look I give the girl at the bar? Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. What's up? You looking pretty good.
You like dancing? But
the thing about the Gorn was he was the first version of Jason from Friday the 13th.
Right.
He's not moving real fast, but he's relentless. He's gonna keep coming. And these Gorns now are Predator from the movie Predator and Predator 2 and the other Predator movies.
And Predators and
Prey, which is an upcoming TV series, which actually looks pretty good so far. And I'm just saying, why didn't you just make something new? Because canon says Starfleet doesn't know from Gorns. And these Gorns, and you're right about that, coming right back to the very beginning. This is a big bad. This is a scary, scary bad guy. So that's great. We need that. But why Gorns?
Craig Robinson says, we all love the Ufmach.
That's true.
Before we get to the nitty-gritty of today's episode, the question I have then is a counterpoint, perhaps, since the characterization we've got from the Gorn has all been in the mind of someone who's been compromised and on to Union Sin, is there a possibility in pure Star Trek fashion they are misunderstood about the Gorn? Maybe the Gorn is being seen as big bad when they're actually not.
That's a good question. I think the relentlessness with which these Gorn attack, I think, I was up to this point, I was like, oh no, it's the young girl character who's carrying so much that she's very, very cranky all the time. And we're dumb for not knowing what she knows. And she gets to yell at us as she's teaching us all that she knows. I freaking hate that.
We have backstories, man. I was born a poor black child in Brooklyn. My parents didn't have much. But what I did, I tried as hard as I can to be host my own talk show about Star Trek. No, I'm just kidding. That's not it.
Yes, but you're a host. You're a nice guy. You welcome us in.
Right.
You know, look, I'm an old white man.
Not old.
No one knew that. But you know, one of my arch rivals in life is a 16-year-old girl who every time I talk, she goes, oh.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
And that's what I get from Noonien La'an. Really fighting with that name. That's what I get from La'an Noonien Singh is that it's just so tough to be her. Like we're not all carrying our crap, you know?
Yo, she didn't even wear the pin for Starfleet Remembrance Day. USS Puget Sound was in her drawer. She's going through some stuff, man. Where's your heart? Where is your heart, Captain?
What I love about that is she then goes talks to Space Mommy. So number one, Una, the first officer, their Flobo boys on the Enterprise. And I'm really loving her. I've told you how I worked with Rebecca Romaine many years ago. I did not have a good time. I did not like her. She was not a nice person. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about her on the show. So far, I'm okay with it. I'm not happy they turned her into Superwoman.
Really? I have the opposite problem. I have the problems like you have this number one, but you're having a more militant character in the Lillian Singh to have these propel these stories. So you have to incapacitate number one plenty of times to get her out the way. That's my issue. That's the opposite of being Superwoman.
We find out on Ghosts of Elira
last week,
and that was like last week. Oh my god, it feels forever ago. Another bad thing about being old.
Whew.
But I mean, she like puts hammer over her shoulder like laundry, like a like a jacket. And she's super strong, and you know, she can eliminate all disease, but she can't share that power with anybody. Anyway, she is this superhero. She's got these superpowers now, but I like the character. They put the character in my head, and I went, yeah, I like her. I like what Rebecca Romaine's doing with her. I like that she's vulnerable, at least in her personality, at least in her mind, even if they've made her kind of super powered, which I think I, as a fan, knew that character that was originally played by Majel Barrett in the original pilot, The Cage.
Mhm.
Yeah. That I think I knew that she was a bit superhuman.
Right.
She's a bit better than us, if you will. So that was okay. But they've given her La'an as her like little foundling, you know, Wesley Crusher like kid. And like Wesley Crusher, she's kind of lightweight and kind of I don't love her. Here's what made me happy about this episode.
Tell me.
We're finally confronting her backstory with the Gorn.
Yes. That's it. That's all you like about the episode.
I like that. I like
it.
that. Well, I didn't want to carry this for a year. I didn't want to, you know, like, tell us again about how sad you are about the dinosaurs. Oh, you don't understand. You'll never know. You'll never know. Like, I don't love that drama. So the fact that we were confronting it in this episode, that made me happy.
All right, there's a lot to get into here. The Enterprise was originally en route to deliver a quote atmosphere pressure upgrade unit to Finibus 3, which sounds like something that was made by an algorithm for a plot line, but whatever. Turns out they're another booby trap type bait and switch, which seems to be a common trend in space. How dumb is Starfleet to get caught in these things weekly? But it turns out the Gorn are laying a trap just to shoot things out the sky. Leon Nguyen Singh has a backstory with it because she has that crazy last name. We're always like, do we trust her? What's side she's on and what she's dealing with? What we saw, though, was, to me, one of the greatest examples of what it takes to be in command. In this life, you have Pike, who seems to be very cocksure, very swashbuckling, had to make a lot of tough decisions and more insight into his managerial style. I gotta ask you this there, Captain John. Everyone has a favorite captain. It's Kirk or Picard. Is Pike getting up that list for you?
Let me find it in my notes.
No. Back to you, Flobo.
Okay.
Yes.
Pike is the space dad. Sorry, Picard.
Oh, snap. Mic drop.
I love Pike. I love him. I'm not going to dislike this show because I love Captain Pike. And I love this version. I love all the versions of Spock. This is a great version of Spock. So as long as I'm getting some good Pike and some good Spock, and I love Nurse Chapel, I love Dr. Mbenga. I am warming up to the newer characters. I love Ortegas, as you know, because we all know people who've served in the military, and Ortegas is so real to me in terms of people who serve in the military.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it all comes from Pike. Here's what I thought was hilarious. Pike has done these speeches ever since they introduced him in Discovery. It's like, open all channels. Hey, everyone, it's time for a sermon.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so good. He's so good. And I do use sermon deliberately because as we find out in Discovery that he grew up going to church and in a family that went to church, just like me, just like lots of people who watch the show.
So Fox, just like you.
and what I loved about him meeting people on a separate planet, but they had a church. And so he was like, look, we're just here for fellowship. And I'm like, yes, that's a church term.
Cheap pop.
They know what they're exactly like. Woo! Fellowship. Woo!
Okay.
So, mean, there's Fellowship of the Ring too, so you Tolkienites can join in with me on loving that. But yeah, I mean, I really love this guy. He sermonizes and he freaking cares. He cares, and in a modern way, not in the old macho, like, I've got 350 lives depending on me. Like, it's not just the Kirk version. It's also this newer version of, I care. When my people die, it breaks my heart. And I get that from Pike. I really think that Pike is like my favorite captain right now. And I've had a lot of favorite captains, including the modern captains as well.
Speaking about loss, besides the fact that it's Starfleet Remembrance Day, between the adventures this week, the Enterprise lost 10 souls, 3 civilians, 7 crew. But the question I want to ask specifically was that pull aside moment where Pike kind of does the most lightliest dress down of Noonien Singh, but like, hey, you got to stop with the hard ass act and have a little bit of faith. You're a man of faith there, Captain. Thoughts about that? Was that too hokey, or did that hit it for you?
We needed that confrontation with her. There were 2 things that I loved in this, in dealing with La'an. And the first one, actually, I interrupted myself before I could finish it, was number 1 says to her, "You're not wearing your pin." And La'an says, "You know how I feel about it." And the line from number 1 is, "Yeah, I definitely do." And I love the way she said it. Was like, you've made your feelings abundantly clear. Look, you're making us all uncomfortable. You're a 13-year-old girl. Will you please stop disturbing the family with your bullshit?
You were reading a lot into that line, bro.
Rebecca Romaine has raised some children. Wow. She knows how you talk to a kid.
Wow. The hate is real.
That's where I am.
Is Tuvix here? I have no idea. Is Phlox here? Wow.
No, I love that, because I mean, let's not pretend it's not there. She is a moody, petulant young person. I'm trying to take all of my, I come from a very conservative background too, so it was very natural for me most of my life to go, oh God, a 13-year-old girl. Ugh. Oh, she's a girl. She's doing girl stuff. I'm trying to degender all of my impressions of people. Your gender isn't important. What's important is you, your thoughts, your actions, how you interact. That's how I want to judge people, not by their gender. So the fact, I've got 3 younger sisters. I know moody, petulant.
Well, she's not moody. She's just a hard ass. She's prickly. Because she's not like she's like happy and sad or mad. She's always sour. There's always a cloud over her head. She's always dealing with stuff. That's like, depressive state. No?
I hear you. And that's very compassionate of you, Flobo.
Oh my God.
What a wonderful person. No. You're backing me down, and I have to say, you're right to back me down, because again, I don't want to be the old cranky white guy who wants to watch that show where Flobo,
I'm watching.
The really nice guy, has his old cranky white guy friend who complains that things aren't like they were in the 50s. Like, we don't need that. No one wants to watch that. So I guess what I'm saying is I think you're right that she is being pulled back into the fold. She's being pulled back. You're part of a crew. People depend on you. And that moment that Pike has with her that you're mentioning, he's talking about leadership. He's talking about being a better captain, which we all assume is what she's eventually going to be. And we see a little bit of that in this episode, a little bit of business as usual, a little bit of this is protocol. This is how we do things. And I like that. I want that from my Star Trek.
This is kind of early for me, but one of my favorite quotes of the episode is when Pike tells, I always call him Noonien Singh because as far as like sir, Khan is Khan, right? And he's kind of a lame-o. That's why I said it. He goes, it's not about orders. It's about hope. Belief can be the difference between victory and defeat. And that does pay off when Pike is like, she'll hold when they're dealing with the atmospheric pressure, the gravitational pull, and the strength of that brown dwarf.
Yeah. Man, why we got to say brown dwarf?
That's what it is. I mean, it does feel wrong. I'm just saying
Feels
what it says
wrong.
here. So I add a question mark. I'm incredulous.
It's like we're being mean to Tony Cox from Bad Santa.
Yeah, the intergalactic people will be upset.
I love that because you know what that is, really?
What is it?
That's faith of the heart.
Oh, don't do it. Cause
I've got faith of the heart.
I
Yeah, go ahead, man.
the saddest part is I always have to sing it with clenched fists. I don't know why. That power ballad pose, the meatloaf, I'll do anything for love.
Oh my god. If
Oh,
I could
man.
figure out how to edit to music, I've got to have as many people as we can get do like karaoke of Faith in the Heart.
Oh my gosh.
I
For
just
those
wanna
of you who
hear it.
don't know, you're lucky. Continue.
Faith in the Heart, the theme song
No,
from Star Trek Enterprise.
Don't tell them.
It's terrible. It's a terrible song.
Don't give a way to see it or hear it. Just say if you don't know what it is, you're lucky. That's
Yeah, and you're lucky because it's a terrible song. Diane Warren wrote it, and she's written some really passable songs in the past. This was not one of them.
right. Kristen Marie's giving us a little bit of the little musical notes. So
I've got faith. Kirsten's got faith. I've got faith.
I've learned to love it ironically. Ask the crowd,
Same.
the chat, with favorite parts. And Craig Robinson saying, I'll take us had a chance to shine here. She quips, full impulse to a glass cloud of death. Why not? To me, I don't not like Ortega's. I do feel like she feels like she's like from 2022, but it's not really her fault. It just feels like she's walked on set like, oh, we're in the future. All right, cool. But yeah, he had a chance to shine here, being able to be the helmsman. Unfortunately, to use gender specific terms to fly through this certain suicide mission to avoid the Scorn attack.
Yeah. I love how they handled it. I'm never a big one for, well, I really want to see the Enterprise blow up again. I don't love that, but you got to have things at stake. You got to have danger. The danger has to be real. That last shot of the Enterprise at the end of this episode, it's so raggedy. It's so beaten to crap.
Yeah.
It means something when your ship gets the crap kicked out of it like that. But everybody not everybody managed to live through it, but most people managed to live through
Everybody
it.
with speaking roles managed to live through this.
That's exactly true. Dude, can we talk about the Mr. Kyle thing at some point?
Yeah, let's do it now.
Okay, so Mr. Kyle is Chief Kyle is our
transporter.
Our transporter chief, and he the name Mr. Kyle comes from old Enterprise lore. It's from the original Star Trek. This Mr. Kyle, very cool guy. I like him. He's looking up. He sees a guy. Now, I wasn't sure. Was this like a meet cute thing? Was this like a guy they were attracted to each other? Or were they just like, hey, what's up, pal? Hey, what's up, my friend?
I think it's open to interpretation, but it could go either way.
Could go either way. And then when things get really, really dangerous and they start slamming doors shut and basically cutting off parts of the ship, Kyle and this guy are running for the door. And they're not going to make it. And the guy behind Mr. Kyle pushes him, shoves him.
Right.
And then the doors slam shut. Mr. Kyle looks around, turns around, looks at him. And the guy basically explodes into, lightning.
Right.
And,
ouch.
And that's one of those, split second moments, life during wartime, tragedy, tragic death. Exactly what we were talking about in the beginning with remembering the people who gave their lives.
Right.
Just, hit me right in the heart. Punched me right in the heart. Man, I just loved that. That detail was we didn't know his name.
Right.
I just loved that.
I think, yeah, it's definitely raising the stakes. A lot of times on CSI, a show I always reference on the show, when they have a dead body, it's always a dead body. So they'll do some random thing like, oh my gosh, it's John Q. Smith, the famous fashion designer who flew in from Milan. Like, it doesn't really matter where they flew in from, but it's just, but I understand because Kyle was so close to dying because this random guy.
I mean, it tells you everything. It tells you everything about Starfleet. You sacrifice for the greater good. It we're never alone when you're in a crew. My God, I'm making myself emotional.
Yeah.
We take bullets for each other. That's what we do. I love
Well,
that shit.
Stress Free K jumps in the chat. What's up, Stress Free K? Says,
Ah,
unfortunately, I was a little bored with this one. I need my away mission. So I reason I bring this up there, which is cool because the show allows us to get it's both. But the reason why I love this one, this was my favorite, is the opposite. Give me the scientific mystery. Give me the stakes. You put me in the locker room. You put me against the wall. How are you gonna get out of this? Give me all the sensors I need to make me feel smart by watching, And there were some things that were some kind of mumbo jumbo, and yet they had to stop the show to tell me what a gravitational redshift was. But I was on board every time because you felt the walls were closing in, or quite literally in the Gorn's case, because one ship is totally bit at one and became a ball of paper. But I liked it. I liked the Stress Free K. I don't know.
we've had this kind of story in Star Trek before, specifically in the original series where and I knew the name of it, but it's flown out of my head. But basically where it's more like a submarine drama from like World War II.
Yeah.
And we have those moments of, the beads of sweat on everybody's face, and they're
Straight
like,
up.
trying to be really silent as they pass by each other. And I love that. I mean, that was really good. I think it's a bold choice to not show us these Gorn.
Right.
The last time we've seen a Gorn in Star Trek was on Enterprise. He basically was. Do you remember that episode from?
Oh, yeah. It was the Velociraptors from Jurassic Park. So I was like, wait, these people were so smart to like harvest humans, or how dumb are humans to be like, okay, dinosaur man, I'll go with you. But so I was asking you whether or not I missed something. But you're like, no, these were just trash. You know what it reminds me of? This is totally not of the thing. So I'm a DC comic person. There was like a comic book villain called Dr. Light, and Dr. Light was made to be like a punch bag for the Teen Titans. And then one day they wiped his brain and became super gritty, rebooted Dr. Light and became a badass. And it felt so wrong and out of place because you want someone to be like sipping on a banana peel, going, curse you, So that's what I was wanting to know how you felt about that.
I mean, I'm okay with this kind of villain. To answer your question very directly, I'm okay with this kind of villain because if you went into space and you were meeting other life forms, they wouldn't all come from political democracies. They wouldn't come from societies that had gotten rid of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
They would be deep into these evils.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. That is like how alien can something be? In this case, there's an apex predator out there that can eat us like that can devour us, that uses us as a food source. We're basically cows flying a ship around to them.
That's an image.
Or, I mean, because they're hunting and they're setting up traps and stuff, we're deer. We're just livestock to them. And that is alien, and that's very cool. I like that. I like when sci-fi does that.
Yeah, definitely. I know you can pick and choose, or you can see all the references, right? Maybe someone can argue that sci-fi is eating itself, but as it is right now, I am still enamored with the new package of the show. But moving on, even though we touched upon a little bit of Noonien Singh because you love that's favorite character, we did get our first mind meld, and it looks like the pandemic is over because Spock's actually touching flesh again. Thoughts about this? Thoughts about the mind meld? Thoughts about seeing Noonien Singh's background? And of course, a little bit of that Discovery Burnham leaks in through.
Right. Which is, I really like how they did that. This is so specific to me, but I love Spock and I love Pike. And so the more you take the elements that I don't like Noonien Singh, and you combine them with the elements I like, you might make them good elements. And I feel like that happened here. I thought it was hilarious that she was basically saying, look, this really dangerous mission can be done in a shuttle. I should do it. And he's like, oh, take the Galileo. And what I missed was him like throwing her the keys.
Right. Take the Porsche. Take the Macan. Yeah.
Fine. You can take the Astrovan.
Right.
Bring it back full. And And Spock, who's been watching her and trying to make sure that she does the right thing and that she, stays within the lines, and he's like, and I'm going with you. And he's like, you're not going to make a suicide mission out of that. I'm going to make sure I go with you and you don't lose your crap. And that was great. That was great. Her frailties and her flaws are right up front, as I think they should be. And Spock reaches out to people on the crew all the time now. And I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. He's done it for Uhura, and I loved it there too. So I thought it was hilarious that it was like, so you're letting the kids take the car?
Yeah.
I mean, they take the car, and then before we know it, they're like in neutral, just flying along. She's like, let's mind meld. It's just so weirdly like sexual to me.
It's kind of like Demolition Man, right? Do you want to have sex? Yeah. That's a deep cut. My third favorite line of the episode, he goes, "The mind meld is not a shortcut for dealing with mental trauma." Snap! So I want to tell the cast of Discovery that, because they were mind melding left and right in that show. Hey, what a mind meld? What a mind meld? What a mind meld? What a mind meld? What a mind meld?
And I like that. I like that they kind of made it. I always felt in the original series that it was a real special thing when they'd whip out the mind meld, which is crazy because it's just this. There's nothing so special about it. The fact that it's a relatively common thing for us as viewers now, I like that, because Vulcans have psychic powers, and it's always been so, and it shall remain so, and I like that.
I would like if Spock declined. I had to cut you off there, because when she's like, I heard what your people can do, I was like, what the hell? What in the Harry Kim racistness is this? But Spock doesn't.
Which is so funny, because I guess for me, I mean, look, they're very attractive actors. So I guess in my mind, I'm like, well, of course they're going to go snoo. I mean, of course they're going to smush. What I love that it's a two-way street. So he's sort of reading her memories, but she starts to pick up on his, as you said. She detects Michael Burnham. She understands that he's gone through the kind of loss that she's gone through, especially losing her brother, which is a recurring thing here. But I really love his line, "I think we should end this mind meld now."
Yeah. Well, I mean,
put on your clothes. We're done here.
I'm just saying, if you're out there smushing your fingers in someone's face and they mention your sister, I'll stop too. Like, hey, this party's over. We're not gonna keep doing this. That's not cool at all. But Singh does say, "Hey, look, the Starfleet records doesn't mention his sister," and he goes, "No, they do not." Looks like I understand Strange New Worlds has got a lot of good press for divorcing itself from Discovery. Yeah. But it's interesting that they do mention Burnham. Would you like to see more? Or is this kind of cool being a one-time reference? Where do you stand with that?
Oh, I do have a very specific read on this, and that is that we are learning more. Okay, the people in the crew are learning more about each other, just the way last week Una learned about Dr. M'Benga's secret, and everybody learned about Una's secret. It makes them a more tight-knit group. So as a writer, as a showmaker, I think that's fantastic. You know how it is when you work really close with people. You live in each other's pockets.
Absolutely. It's a little different though. I think like M'Benga's backstory, something it works within here. Una's backstory works from it there. But the Michael Burnham thing is a different show, a show that is polarizing. I guess more of a studio level. If you were in charge, if you were Kurtzman, would you have more Burnham references to give Spock more of that backstory, or do you say, okay, that was cool one time, let's keep it separate because we got some goodwill brewing here with Strange New Worlds?
I understand being a newer fan and saying, why would you establish something and then say, and we will never speak of it again? I totally get that. As an old-timey fan, I need to hear the reason why we never knew Spock had a sister. And they've given us that reason. So I'm happy with that too. I would not be happy if they kept doing this after season 1.
Okay.
I'm really happy establishing the sort of intimacy and the knowledge of each other and mentioning it that way, because it is a terrible pain that he carries, and he can't show or experience his emotions. So it is a good thing. But yeah, I'd be more than happy if we stopped talking about it and kind of went with Cybok on it. Do you know the
Yeah.
Cybok thing?
I mean, there's a lot of things I'm not talking about. T-Pring got a refresh, and Cyborg's there, and Sarek was appearing there for a minute too. Craig Robinson says, didn't anyone think about the girl in the transport buffer with all those systems going down? Hey, that was last week's problem, okay? There, Craig Robinson, stop putting continuity and stuff week to week.
I didn't even think about that. Oh no! Oh
Yeah.
no!
That's why Memega's upset.
I mean,
it's
I
triage
remember
now.
when oh my God, when Una says to him, "We will get you a direct a line of power from the warp core to power that buffer." And that's a big deal, and I love that she did that. But that means anytime the warp core goes offline, she should disappear.
Whoops.
Good point.
Well, if we never mention her again, we'll know why. Gordon kills everybody. So I had my reservations with the C story, the B story. We went to C story with the whole Una thing. But the last ditch moment, I thought it was a cool moment of her donating the last bag of plasma when most medical systems were down. Shows number one is always number one, even if someone else is acting as a number one.
Look, man, your first officer should always be your extra captain.
Wait, what? Since when? No, I'm just kidding.
And that's why you can have a total bum as the captain as long as you have a great first officer. Wait a minute, now I'm pointing at you.
Oh no, not me. Oh.
And I do agree with Stress Free K, where he says that Strange New World owes its existence to Discovery. It does. I mean, I don't want us to forget about Discovery. It's a really great show. I don't want it to get pushed off to the side where it's like, hey, let's keep doing Star Trek, but we'll just pretend that DS9 doesn't really exist. Like, no. I love DS9. Keep it in the mix. I love Voyager in its totality. Each episode, not so much, but I love these stories all being part of one universe. I agree. I totally agree.
I would, now that I watch more episodes of Voyager, it's not the whole point of the show, but now that I watch more episodes of Voyager, I would totally be fine if it was a limited series. If it was like a good 10 episode or 20 episode story about how to get home, I'd be fine. But it being this like ongoing thing where I know they were writing, think it's going to be a nine season show, and it's like, oh, by the way, it's not. But that's neither here nor there. Learn more on Starbase 80 Sundays as the Weber Internet thingy rolls on. Sponsored by Uncle Bunk's Trunk, the finest in tapestries and historical things from all over the world, curated by the House of Weber. All right, our D story is a little bit of an interaction. Uhura is on the engineering part of her tour with Hemmer, one of Captain John's favorite characters. As if you know, Hemmer is visually impaired. Hey, I'm trying here, man. I'm trying to get that award. I'm going to be a journalist. Well, we got a lot more development for Uhura. She learns that she's trying to find her place, which is the over arc for her. Hemmer's impressed by her duties. There was some kind of scary moments that we thought she died it, but didn't. Walk me through this. Uhura, working with this crew, how does she fit in for you?
I saw a discussion, and I know it's not a unique discussion, so I don't feel bad that I can't tell you who said it, because I know other people are saying it. And that is this. What we're getting with Uhura is she's very ambivalent about being in Star Trek. I'm sorry, Starfleet. She's very ambivalent about being in Starfleet. And we do have Spock there going, really, you beat out thousands of people to be here. You're taking up a valuable space. You should really make the most of this. And so she's doing that. She's not sure if she even wants to be in Starfleet. She's thinking maybe, after this, she leaves. And what people have been discussing is that this might mirror what really happened to the actress who played Uhura originally. So you remember the story about Nichelle Nichols, and that she wasn't sure she wanted to be on the show.
Right.
And she was a Broadway performer and a dancer and a singer. There's so many things she could do other than say, no response, Captain. Like, she had a lot of talent and a lot of things that she could have been doing other than Star Trek.
Immediately, sci-fi is hard to sell, right?
And it is, especially at that time. And
Mhm.
so she actually met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he, back in the day, the idea about representation and just being seen was still quite new as a concept to people. And
Yes.
he explained that to her and said, when people see you, it's the Whoopi Goldberg story as well, where,
Mhm.
she says she told her mom, there's a black lady on this show and she ain't no maid. And that means a lot. So one of the theories that people are bouncing around, and I like this theory a lot, I'm a person who believes in it as well, is that Uhura's story reflects the story of the woman who originally played her.
Mhm.
You don't
I
get
like
much
it.
more meta than that.
I'm with you. I'm buying into that. I think there's a bit of an overcorrection. There's a time where like, okay, well, if I growing up as a person of color, not seeing people like me, you're like, well, okay, if I'm an actor, I'm going to be the guy that like saves a planet and zip line somewhere and has the girl on my shoulder and everything. But then there is a bit of nuance there going like, you know what, just showing up and being someone with a heart of gold is important too. So I can see that being something you could pull from. And has
Yeah.
this person's super talented to be 1,000 people to be Uhura or to be in
Yeah.
Star Trek, Starfleet, and saying I'm not really feeling it, I don't know, but then having a chance to prove herself at different stations throughout the season, which is kind of an
Yeah.
arc, even though we don't do arcs around here as much. I thought it was kind
Right.
of cool that she passed the Hammer test, even though Hammer almost died again.
Yes, and that's and
Again,
is that the only? I mean, was there any other way to pass the Hammer test?
killing him?
I,
No, nope. Can't say that.
Somehow stepping up and being able to, at least for a little bit, do what he does. And he's a genius and he's special and he's got superpowers too.
Yeah.
So there she is she's running that really difficult panel. And then she's like, wait, what about this other panel? And he goes, I run them both at the same time.
Yeah.
That
Took him.
really was kind of awesome. And I do love, as you point out, she's undeclared. She doesn't have a major yet.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just going through some stuff. I'm going to go liberal studies and hopefully general applied sciences.
And we do know that she is she's incredible at languages. What's the phrase? She's a cunning linguist.
Oh Lord.
Bam.
We hit that level of the show. Well,
That's why
sorry,
you have
we're not getting Humanitas Award anymore.
this is why you have old guys on the show, so we can do the really terrible jokes from 1905.
So you know what about dumb jokes? There's a city out there in the West called Beaver, Utah. And if you go through Beaver, all the stores has like shirts you could buy. It goes, I found Beaver in Utah, or look at my Beaver in Utah. And I'm like, this whole town is a dad joke. Can anyone say, let's fix some potholes? Can we open up a cafeteria? No. More Beaver merchandise. But
I'll bet that Beaver merch is bringing in a pretty penny.
Beaver, Utah.
This is hey, everybody, Christmas gifts, ideas. We're all going to go buy Beaver, Utah stuff. Beaver you. Oh yeah, that's a good point from Stress Free K. Tilly also went through the officer training but didn't quite excel. Yeah, I mean it's natural that you would be part of that. That's one of the reasons why I loved La'an going back to being acting number one, acting first
Stress
officer.
PK, was that a pun? Was that a pun? Or you gonna do the whole Microsoft Office Excel thing? Because if it is, I ain't laughing at it. I swear to God, I won't do it. I won't do it. What up, Deej?
Hey, Deej. You're surrounded by dad jokes on all sides, Flobo. Dad jokes are your Gorn.
No, they're so silly and fun, but evil at the same time. But before we get out of here, I want to ask a question about Discovery, right? So Discovery had a 4-season head start. Season 5 is confirmed. It's on the way. You had Strange New Worlds. A lot of things seem to be working with the core Star Trek audience. Is there something you try to put back into Discovery to make it more similar? Or do you say you double down and go, nope, this whole thing, the season-long story, the Michael Burnham, the way she's doing it in the future, no elements are taking any of it? Or do we try to give back some of the magic, I guess?
What a great question. So in essence, you're asking, should Discovery keep being more Discovery,
Yeah,
or should it pull in like it did when Captain Pike took over Discovery in season
correct.
2?
I mean, there's elements of the episodic nature of things, having a little bit more of a contained mystery, having more of the science mammal jumble back and forth. Usually, it would just be Stamets telling everyone everything. Do you try to
Right.
do that, or is that messing with the DNA?
That's a very good question. If somebody told me that Discovery in season 5 was going all episodic, I would feel like that was a terrible idea.
Interesting. Good
I
to know.
do like the overreaching story arcs. I do
Especially
really dig those.
on with more with you. Producers talk about making disco more episodic now. It'll be a mix, they say. I got a feeling there has
Sure.
to be a little bit of both. I think like I'm down for
Yeah.
8 episode arcs. I think even in seasons 1 and 2, there's always like a 12 episode worth of story in 14 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very specific to that.
And
Okay.
I think they've seen it done different ways. There are the episodes of the seasons of Discovery, but there are also 2 seasons of Picard to look back on too. And what I like to say with Picard is it's essentially like an old timey serial. It's, chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter. And it's adventure. So it doesn't make a lot of sense all the time. I don't know. I feel like Discovery has really found its depth, and even when they introduce new characters, like I care about these characters right away.
Yeah.
So I like what they're doing, but the mixture is really where I would appreciate it the most. Have your B story or your C story be something of the overarching storyline, but yeah, I like the science mysteries. I like the monster encounters, the misunderstandings, the bad diplomatic situations. All of these are very Star Trek. I enjoy these.
Very Star Trek. Last question, just for the swashbuckling of it all. Thoughts about having the dogfight this week in space, not seeing our villain, and having a lot of things happening off camera. I was intrigued. I thought they did the best they could, but there's an argument saying, hey, look, it was kind of a cheap trick, not showing what the actual threat was.
Yeah, it's rough, because if I were working in the organization and someone said, what else are we going to do with the Gorns? I would say nothing. Nothing. We're done. We're done with the Gorn.
Wow.
Well, I mean, according to canon, the next time we see a Gorn is the first time anyone's ever seen a Gorn, and that's in Captain Kirk's Enterprise run, Captain Kirk's 5-year mission. So there should not be a regular aliens versus predator kind of thing going on with the Gorn. It would be a waste if they didn't do that, because they've set them up as these really scary aliens. But, according to canon, that's it. We're done with them. So I'm interested to see which mistake they make next.
Wow.
Because using the Gorn was a huge mistake.
Wow. Let me know if you guys agree on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Captain, as we wind down and everyone wants to hit you up with all your hate mail for your hot takes about Union singing the Gorn, how do they go about connecting with you and all your different shows and things you're working on?
You can find me on Facebook, because I'm old. So Starbase 80 is the home of the companion show to Commander's Log, and we go up on we air on Sundays. This Sunday, 2 p.m. in the Eastern United States, 11 a.m. in the Western United States, and we will be this week talking about Amok Time, because Spock Amok is the next episode of Strange New Worlds, and kind of want to introduce you to the Vulcan blue balls that is Amok Time. It'll be a lot of fun. Flobo's never seen it before. I really want to hear his reactions.
I was on the fence, but you said Vulcan blue balls. Well, I'm on board because they have green blood. And I was, how's that even possible? I don't know.
Those green-blooded hobgoblins.
Was hobgoblins blue balls? All right. So this is Commander's Log, available wherever you listen to your podcast. And of course, on that YouTube platform. Share it. Please, please, please let people know that there's some bunch of goofballs out here who have good times watching Star Trek content. Be back here next Thursday. Before I shut it all down there, Captain, any last thing on your notes you want to read?
I had they set up that space bridge, and that's what made them super vulnerable. And I'm like, oh, stupid space bridge. It was a good idea until the Gorn were like exploiting it.
Oh man, he has that space bridge. Never thought that would happen.
Oh man, so many good lines in this one.
Oh yeah. Spock,
geez.
that's not what I suggested. That's not what I suggested.
I love the panicky guy on comms.
Oh yeah, Zaninga. He should be
him.
cool. I want more episodes of him.
Not everybody on the bridge should be cool. This guy's not cool. Like, oh no, we're all gonna die. You need that guy.
Why does he sound like Don Knotts?
Because in my mind, he was played by Don Knotts. I don't mean to brag, but whoa, we're gonna get blasted out of the sky over here. But there was a line, and I should have okay, next time I'll remember. It's basically, wow, space just really wants us dead.
Now that you think about it, yeah, because now
it's like the bow on the gift,
That is the entire point of it's like a Star Trek pitch. Imagine a space crew out in space where space crew has to kill them weekly. Will there be diplomacy? Kind of. Approved. All right.
Sometimes, maybe.
As we gotta get out of here, I gotta shout out to Craig Robinson with a dad joke on the way out. Don't be Gorn too long, guys.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Maybe the Gorn are not bad people. They just have bad sense of humor. But about time to get out of here. Kim, say the words.
As the Gorn say, Kirk, goodbye.